For nearly the last 3 years, Jared Goff's critics made him into a personal punching bag for any time something went wrong with the Lions. But now, nobody's doling out any more punches. It's time to start doling out some flowers. We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned.
We used to be a team no one respected. We used to be a team no one feared. That was then. This is now.
First victory of the year on the line. Goff's got it. Back, looks, throws, end zone. Yes! Caught!
You know who we are.
10-5, end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions.
And you know where to find us. We won't be far. We'll be on your front porch waiting for you. We are the New Era Lions. And
we are driven by Detroit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving in. But before we dive in, I just want to say thank you all to my loyal fans and subscribers that are coming back to the show. I just want to say thank you all for everything that you do, and also thank you all for getting us to 4,000 subscribers. It absolutely means the world to me that we have regained so much ground since the termination of my old channel, but I'm so thankful for each and every one of you all. And to those that are tuning into my show for the very first time, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all enjoy the content, but even more so, I hope to gain you all subscribers if I've earned and deserved it. And with that being said, to everybody, I just want to say, God bless. I hope y'all are having a great day, and if you guys were there to watch the game last night, you are most certainly having a great day. But with that, let's dive into the show. So, here's the thing, folks. Jared Goff. When we talk about the quarterback of the Detroit Lions, when we talk about any one of the four polarizing positions in Detroit sports, it's definitely a conversation that causes controversy. It causes friction for fans. And I'm talking about point guard of the Pistons, goalie of the Red Wings, pitcher of the Tigers, quarterback of the Lions. All four of those positions are going to cause controversy. And they're going to cause controversy because those are the positions that get the most scrutiny. They also get the most praise, but they also get the most scrutiny. When we talk about the Detroit Lions quarterback, Jared Goff, for the last damn near 3 years, anytime anything went wrong, whether it was Goff's fault or not, the man was nothing more than a personal punching bag for a lot of people in both national media and in local Detroit sports media. But when you take a look at this game that Goff just had against the Rams, where the Lions won their first playoff game in 30-plus years, you have to take a look at it from a couple of perspectives before we can get into this conversation. So first, let's take a look at it from the perspective of Jared Goff. Let's just think about it from his perspective. For Jared Goff, this playoff win over the Rams probably to him was nothing more in the sense of he wanted to win this game for the Lions fans and for the city of Detroit because he was fulfilling a promise to the Lions fans in the city that he was going to win a playoff game for them, that he was going to win for them, that was what his ultimate desire was, to win a playoff game for the city and fans of the Detroit Lions.
No, I think, I so badly want to win a game for this city and win a playoff game for the city that hasn't had one in so long. We got a home playoff game for the first time in so long.
So for Jared Goff, that was checking off that box. It was like, listen, I made a promise, I fulfilled the promise. Now it's to add even more onto it. So that's the perspective from Jared Goff, I'd be willing to bet. But then you have to think about it from this other perspective that may or may not have a connotation or connection to Jared Goff, or at the very least that Goff himself would probably never admit to, at least right now. That this game, this playoff win that Jared Goff had against the Rams is kind of a measure of revenge for Jared Goff against his old organization, his old coach, the Rams and Sean McVay, and getting vindication for who and what he is as a quarterback when how the freaking Rams, Les Snead, McVay completely and callously discarded him as if he was nothing more than a piece of trash. So for some people, this might seem as a measure of revenge or a vindication game, if you will, for Jared Goff. And I don't know whether Goff feels that way or not, but I'm pretty sure at some point in the future it may or may not come out, but not right now. But perhaps more than anything, other than the fact of Goff winning a game for the Lions faithful, this game perhaps was kind of the final nail in the coffin to all of Goff's detractors, haters, critics for the stupid, asinine arguments that they had posed against him, and finally putting the total and complete validation of his value and worth as a player to the Lions organization and team. Now, why does this matter? Well, in most people's circumstances, it probably wouldn't. But when we're talking about sports media, we're talking about Lions sports media, Detroit sports media, it definitely carries a lot of weight. It definitely is important. It definitely matters. Why? Because what do we know about sports media? Everybody has an opinion. You're entitled to that opinion. But here's the problem. When you start taking sides and you start taking liberties with that, it's going to have a price. It's going to have a consequence, especially when it comes to the Lions. Now, why is that the case? Well, the case is because you have fans like myself that are very positive. We're very open-minded. We have a lot of hope for the future. We have a lot of reason to believe in the players that we have versus fans that have had to come along very, very slowly to where we're at, that have criticized and rebuked certain players, especially Goff, and have not believed as readily as what we have seen out of Campbell and this group of Lions organizational personnel that we've had over the last couple of years. So when you start thinking about that, it carries a great deal of weight. Why? Well, let's think about it. One way or the other, somebody was going to say something about it. The negative people had Jared Goff lost. They were going to start saying, oh, this is the reason why Jared Goff is this. This is just the opposite end of it. What this is now saying, though, is that, listen, for all those that were negative, wanted to tear down Goff and the Lions, it's time for you to start laying out some heavy amount of flowers. It's time for you to start issuing apologies. It's time for you to admit you were wrong. And that's what this episode is to tell people that wanted to tell Jared Goff that he was nothing, that wanted to tell people that the Lions thought he was nothing, you were wrong. It's time for you to admit it, and it's time for you to start handing out your flowers to him because he's earned them. So let's get down to that list. The first group of people on this list, or rather the first two people we're going to talk about that seriously need to issue apologies, seriously need to give Jared Goff and the Lions their flowers, is Dan Orlovsky and Chris Sims. Here's the reason why. Number one, Orlovsky and Chris Sims, they are probably the undesirables of quarterbacks right now when it comes to not only former quarterbacks that now have shows of their own, but also in the sense that they never did anything while they were in the NFL. They had no recognition other than just poor play or just moments where it was just like, what the hell's going on? Case in point, Orlovsky running out of the back of the end zone for the Vikings. But the point of the matter is, both of these guys on podcasts or on their shows, whatever the case was, because Sims is with PFT, Pro Football Talk, Orlovsky's with ESPN. They've had no problem in the past saying that, oh, the Lions this, the Lions that, Goff this, Goff that. They have no problem saying in the past that they or him were mediocre, average, that Goff was a bridge quarterback, whatever have you. And like I said, they've had no problem in the past to take a jab at the Lions and say, well, I don't think that the Lions, because of this, that, and the other thing over their past history, are going to win this game or that game. Case in point, I know a lot of Lions fans remember this. Who here remembers no more than a day or so ago when Dan Orlovsky on that ESPN panel, along with four others, all said that the Rams were going to beat the Lions. Now, granted, none of them said that the Rams were going to beat us by a whole lot, but they still all said that the Rams were going to win, even though Vegas had the odds of us winning more so than the Rams, and 63% of Americans thought we were going to win before kickoff last night. But yet, all of these supposed analysts who all said that they thought they knew, all were proven wrong. I think it's time that they say that they were wrong. I think it's time that they admit that they were in need of an apology. I think it's time that they start dishing out some heavy doses of flowers. So, that right there is that. But at the same time, talking about Goff, these two had no problem trying to say this is the type of quarterback Jared Goff is. He's not that. He is this, blah, 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 blah. And all the time it was mostly negative and average connotations towards Goff rather than showing him that, yeah, he is a gritty quarterback. He is a great quarterback. He is a perfect fit for what the Lions are looking for. Yes, he is going to be their franchise quarterback for years and years to come. Goff has proven them wrong every single step of the way. So that's group number one. Group number two. This has been one I have been waiting probably a good solid year, 2 years to go after. The Woodward Heavyweights. Spencer and Easy. I'm going to say this right now. Perhaps no media show in the entirety of Detroit sports media, and I don't really give a thunder what they think or what Woodward thinks. Perhaps no media show has shown such little respect or total disdain for who Jared Goff is, perhaps more so than the heavyweights. And of the two, probably easy. Because every stinking year, we heard from either one or both of them that they wanted to get a new quarterback as long as Goff was the quarterback because they thought Jared Goff was never going to do or amount to anything more than a pile of beans here in Detroit. Every single draft, it was the same thing. The Lions need to draft this quarterback. The Lions need to draft that quarterback. They need to get Jared Goff's replacement, blah, 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 blah. Because what did they say? Especially easy. Oh, Jared Goff's a mediocre quarterback. Oh, Jared Goff's a bridge quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Heard the same old, tired, dumb, ridiculous narrative out of those two clowns all the time. And yes, I'm going to say clowns because, hey, you know what? If CJ can get away with it, I can. But here's the thing. The thing about it that makes them clowns isn't necessarily the fact of their opinions, because you know what? They're entitled to have their opinions. What makes them clowns is the fact that they have their opinions and then they do exactly what everybody that has been a Goff detractor or critic has done over the last 3 years. Anytime that Goff matches what they said he could not do, they move the damn goalposts. Oh, Jared Goff's a mediocre or bridge quarterback. He's never going to be or good here in Detroit. Jared Goff surpassed that. Jared Goff's no longer a bridge quarterback. Brad Holmes said from the very first press conference that he wasn't a bridge quarterback. So really, from day zero, freaking Goff already proved that one wrong. Holmes already proved that one wrong. But you know what? Goff had to go out and prove them wrong with his play. Did that one. Check that box off. Then we heard for a long time Easy saying, oh, well, you know what? The Lions can't keep Goff because he's too expensive. They can't build a winning franchise around Jared Goff because he's too expensive. You have to have a quarterback that has less than XYZ amount of salary cap in order to win. Well, here's the thing. One thing I know about salary cap, the one thing I know about contracts is that you can do whatever the thunder you want with salary cap. You can do whatever the thunder you want with contracts because you can make numbers go and disappear and reappear all you want because that's what the NFL does. They either pay it out in bonuses, they do some sort of freaking, incentives. However they need to do it to make it work within the salary cap, they figure it out. So for me, that never made any amount of sense to me because it's like, listen, you can do whatever you want with the salary cap. Don't mean too much. And seeing as how the Lions are doing pretty good with salary caps because they have what is it, like $80 million due for next season, I think salary cap's not a problem. But then again, after that whole goalpost was moved on, now it was apparently how Jared Goff won't ever win in Detroit. Jared Goff's not going to be able to play in big games. He'll fold under pressure. He's a statue, blah, 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 blah. All things about how Jared Goff can't do this, Goff can't do that. But yet, let's see here. How many primetime games did we win with Jared Goff? How many playoff games have we already won with Jared Goff? Oh, that's right. More games than we've lost. So yet again, that argument has been proven invalid by Jared Goff's own play. So once again, Easy and Spencer from the Woodward Heavyweights have been proven wrong, all showing that they are been too stubborn to actually admit the truth when they're wrong, and that they would much rather push a false narrative and push it to the further extremes rather than just saying, hey, you know what? We got it wrong. And there's nothing wrong when saying you're wrong. But this is one of those times where it's like, yeah, here you go, Jared Goff. Here's your flowers. We were wrong. The third group, third out of four, is the SOL fans and the ex-Stafford fans. Now, I'm going to say this right now. SOL fans are a hard group to convince because, again, they have a lot of trauma from years past, so I can't really fault them too much for this. But ex-Stafford fans, oh, yes, I can. Because I can't tell you how many times I have gotten into arguments, I have gotten into back and forth sessions with people that want to say, Jared Goff's not going to be who Stafford was. Jared Goff is not Stafford. Jared Goff will never be this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, you know what? Pardon me. You're right. Jared Goff isn't Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford are completely different. But I'll tell you this right now. The reason why they're different is because Jared Goff is a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford ever was here in Detroit. Because let me rephrase this for you. Jared Goff isn't Stafford because Goff actually won a division crown here in Detroit. Stafford never did. Jared Goff has won a playoff game here in Detroit. Stafford never did. Even though Stafford had 3 cracks at it, all 3 of them with the greatest wide receiver possible to play with, still couldn't do it. So yeah, for me, that right there already proves that those thoughts, those kinds of theories, all are wrong. Because every statement that those old SOL fans that wanted to cling to Stafford or say that Goff was never going to do anything because the Lions were never going to do anything, all it shows is they simply could not let go of the past to look and embrace the future. And in essence, they just got left behind. Here's the point. I understand there's animosity and there was, all this tense relationship from the Lions in the past and there's trauma and all this stuff. But it's like, listen, if you can't let the past go, if you can't leave the baggage at the freaking train station and just walk away and say, hey, you know what, it's a new day, let's start over, you're going to get constantly left behind. And that's what, for us new era Lions fans, the brand new Lions fans, when we saw Goff, when we saw Campbell, we were like, listen, this is a chance to start over. Get on board. Let's start moving forward. For those that didn't, they got left behind at the station, and now they're trying to catch up. And it's like, listen, you came too late to the party. So that's group number 3. Now, finally, this is what I want to explain here when it comes to the whole Goff versus Stafford narrative. Because, again, I know some people have told me in the past they don't like when I bring up stats because you can't use stats to explain everything. Well, let's be fair and honest here. This one you can. And for those that want to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, I would think by now you guys would stop saying I don't know what I'm talking about, because when it's come to Jared Goff, I've been proven right at every single turn. Not necessarily because, just because I said it was right, but because Jared Goff not only proved himself right, but he proved me right. So now you're going to sit there and you're going to listen to what I have to say and not argue with me on this point, at least once. Because let's think about it here. In this year alone, in the primetime games, in the playoff game that Jared Goff just played, here's what Goff has done in those games. 161 completions to 239 attempts for a 67.4 completion percentage rate, almost 1,900 passing yards, 12 touchdowns to 4 picks with a 101 passer rating, and he's 5-2 in those games. I would dare you to go back to a time when Matthew Stafford did anything close to that. Because let's think about this. Jared Goff has a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, is almost completing 68% of his passes, has literally got over a 100-plus passer rating, and, oh, by the way, has won 5 out of 7 of those games in 1 year. I would like to see Stafford have done that with the Lions, because I can guarantee you this ain't never going to happen. It didn't happen, even with Megatron around, even when Golden Tate was around that 1 year, even when they had the number 3 ranked defense that year. It didn't happen. But then when you go even further into this, take a look at what Goff did in the playoffs versus what Stafford did in the playoffs with the Lions. Goff last night against the Rams was 22 of 27 for nearly 82 completion percentage rate, nearly 300 passing yards, 1 touchdown and no interceptions, with a 1.8 passer rating and a 74.6 QBR. That's about as good as a QB is going to play without just being absolutely flawless and perfect. Goff literally missed the same amount of throws that I have on one hand. He missed 5 throws. That right there is the definition of clutch and precision, especially in a game like last night where literally all the narrative is on you, the quarterback that got traded away from this team, the quarterback that got traded for the guy that's now on your old team. Whereas said quarterback that I was just referring to, how did Matthew Stafford do it with the Lions when he went to the playoffs on 3 separate occasions? Well, first and foremost, he lost all 3 of those games, but Stafford was 74 of 117 for 63.2 completion percentage rate, 908 yards, 4 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, with an 87.8 passer rating. That is pitiful. That's horrible considering that you had the greatest wide receiver to throw to in all 3 of those games, if I recall correctly, and if not, at least 2 of them. And you still couldn't get it done. That to me right there just tells me this. Jared Goff has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, because of the fact he's got the division crown, the fact that he has the playoff win, something that no quarterback in Detroit Lions history has done in the last 30-plus years, that he is the better Detroit Lions QB over Matthew Stafford. And I said this in an earlier episode. I'll put that one back up at the top so you guys can reference it. This happened over a month ago. But the last group I want to talk about here really quickly that really deserve to give Jared Goff some damn flowers are the Hendon Hooker delusional fans. Now, don't get me wrong. Hendon Hooker may or may not start for the Lions later on in the future. Because I know there are people that are like, David, I don't know why you are just all about Goff and not about Hooker. I'll give you all the perfect reasons why I'm not about Hooker. He's too old, he's coming off of an injury, and it just makes no sense considering the fact that Jared Goff is in his prime. And we can see what a prime Jared Goff can do because, oh, that's right, he just won a playoff game and won a division crown. Kind of hard to argue with the results now, isn't it? But don't tell that to the Hooker fans that have been all about Hendon Hooker, because they're all like, oh, whenever Jared Goff had a problem or Jared Goff was going through a rough patch, put in Hendon Hooker, put him in, let's play him. Right. I'm going to say this right now. Look me square dead in the face. Do you honestly think that Hendon Hooker was going to play better than Jared Goff? Do you honestly think that Hendon Hooker would have gotten us to a division crown victory this year? Do you honestly think that Hendon Hooker would have won a 1-point differential playoff victory against the Rams and Aaron Donald? Do you honestly think, for 1 second, be honest with yourselves, that Hendon Hooker was going to do anything that Jared Goff did this year with the Detroit Lions? Jared Goff finishing second in passing yards, tied fourth in passing touchdowns, top 10 in passer rating. You honestly want to tell me that Hendon Hooker, as a 25-year-old rookie who literally has not won a bowl game in college, was somehow going to take us to a division championship and win the first playoff game for the Detroit Lions in the last 30-plus years? Look me dead square in the face and try and tell me that, because I'll tell you this right now, I will call you a liar. Because there's no way you would ever sell me that load of goods. Again, I have a nice saying, and it's going to be a little flamboyant here, but take it for what it is. Don't piss on my back and call it rain. I know the difference. And that right there, the delusional Hooker fans, it's like, listen, Hooker is not taking snaps for the Lions as a starter anytime soon. Because here's what I can tell you. Because of what Jared Goff has done this year, he's going to get himself a nice fat contract extension. It's probably going to be a 3 to 4 year contract extension worth about $160 to $200 million. For a quarterback that's getting paid that much, he ain't sitting anytime soon. Which means Hendon Hooker is going to be learning behind Jared Goff, which is exactly what Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes said he was going to do. Which means that by the time Hendon Hooker gets a chance to play, he'll be about the same age that Jared Goff is right now. Which, let me ask you this question. Does it really make sense to start a quarterback when they're 29, 30 years old, and that's the first time they're taking starting reps? Again, I don't think so. The last couple of quarterbacks that have done that with, Chris Winkie and Brandon Weeden, neither of them did very well. But again, you stick to that narrative all you want. Here's what I'm just going to say. The argument's over and done with. The debate is dead. Jared Goff has proven he is the franchise quarterback. Jared Goff has proven that he is him in Detroit. Jared Goff is and going to be here for a long time. And so for those that don't like him, those that don't like his style of play, I just got one thing to say to y'all. Get the hell over it, because it ain't changing anytime soon. Because you want to know what stands by for Jared Goff's success? It's that banner that hangs in the rafter. 2023 NFC North Division champs. And that's all anyone's got to say to the Goff critics. Plus that and a playoff win for the first time in 30-plus years. But that's just added cherry on top. But having said that, I think I've more than made my point. So I'm just going to say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you liked what you saw, which I suspect for some people you didn't, but so be it, I just want to say please make sure you do one of these 3 things or all 3 of them. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. But I also highly encourage y'all, please, to do this as well. Please, if you've subscribed in the past, you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and have not had a chance to do so, first and foremost, make sure you subscribe. But also, if you subscribed and, like I said, forgot to do so, make sure you turn on that bell notification icon at the bottom so that way you never miss any more content that I push out. Again, subscription numbers are always going up, but let's make sure we turn on that notification icon as well. And also, to help in that endeavor, I ask you to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere that you can with everybody and anybody that you can. And with that being said, folks, I just want to say to the Lions fans and the faithful that finally got to watch a Lions playoff victory, God bless. I hope you all enjoyed this content. I hope to have gained y'all's new subscribers if I hadn't done so in the past. And I hope you are all having just an absolutely fantastic day. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.